Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody. Glad you showed up today. As you know, my name is Amy. I'm from Mind Body Solutions, Director of Programs here. So let's come into the center as we begin our practice today. Just orienting yourself so you're in a comfortable position here, feeling supported this morning. Kind of finding that center position. And today we're actually going to go right into a little bit of eye yoga. And then from that eye yoga, we'll go into our regular seated meditation. So we're going to start a little bit out of the typical way we practice today. So sitting up nice and straight and tall. Go ahead, kind of looking out over your screen. So you're not necessarily looking right at me, but just looking out over the screen. Soften your eyes a bit. And then let's all just gently blink our eyes slowly 3 times. So we'll just gently blink and open 3 times. Blink. And one more time. So the eyes are open softly now, and we'll start with a little bit of eye yoga. So keeping your head centered and not moving the head, go ahead and take your eyes up as if there was a big clock on the wall beyond the screen. Take the eyes up without moving the head up to 12, and then bring them to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and back up to 12. And then go ahead and take a couple more circles as you just circle the clock slowly. See if you can smooth out going around the numbers. It's hard to do this without moving your head. One more time, circling clockwise this time. And then when you get back up to 12, gently close the eyes. Let the eyes rest for a few breaths. And then let's blink the eyes open and close 3 times again, very slowly at your own pace. Last time, keeping the eyes open softly. And again, keeping the head centered without moving as much as you can. We're going to go counterclockwise this time. So we'll start at 12 and we'll go to 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, back up to 12, and then 2 more times at your own pace, counterclockwise. Smoothing it out as much as you can, not pausing like we were on each number. And then once you get back up to 12, soften the eyes again, gently closing them. Notice where you may have been holding tension in the body as you did that, and now let that go. Soften the mouth, the inner ears, letting the eyes really rest now, and all those little muscles that control those movements. Soften the back of the neck. Let the body just release into this softness here as we begin our class this morning. Letting the breath settle into the body. Just sitting Just breathing as we begin today. Especially relax the area now around the eyes, the skin of the forehead, even the temples. We have a tendency to bring a fair amount of tension into that area as we're doing those. And so letting all of that dissipate now, returning to the softness of the breath. And now gently draw the sternum toward the chin. Lengthen the back of the neck, allowing the chin to come down over the sternum. If you wish, if you can bring your hands to the center. Just marking that midline, finding that midline as we begin our practice this morning. Let the hands come back down to the thighs, palms facing up. Raise your head and open your eyes. All right, let's just slowly start moving as we begin this morning. Let's go ahead and start with a little bit of shoulder rolls, letting the body begin to just warm up. And of course, doing this to your capacity at whatever movement feels right for you today, whatever variation of any movement that I'm doing, feel free to take that. And then of course, we want to go the other way as we just start warming up the body. If you want to involve the spine a little bit and get everything moving a bit, feel free to do that. And if it feels good just to move to the side, just move freely for a little bit. Let the whole body begin to warm just a little bit, finding a little bit of rhythm in there. Again, whatever that looks like for you today. Nobody's looking. You're all too small on the screen, so nobody's paying much attention. So you just see a bunch of heads going this way and that way. So it's all right. All right, good. All right, let's ground our legs or our feet. So whatever works for you, having the feet down on foot pedals or the floor, or having simply the back of the thigh against the wall, against the legs, whatever position you happen to be in today. But feeling that sensation of grounding down, pressing down with the legs or the feet to your capacity, even if that's whether that's energetic or whether that's physical, doesn't make any difference. So pressing down toward the floor, grounding the body, and then letting the hips be a little bit free. And then let the hips move a little bit. So we've set up a little bit of a grounding. So maybe that means weight shifting from side to side. Maybe it means just kind of pivoting or rotating over the hips. But bringing the hips into this. For those of you who were in the class last time we taught a lot about the pelvic diaphragm and the respiratory diaphragm, and although we're not working that at this consciously right now, just letting there be some sense of freedom in the hips, in the pelvis, in that whole area as we begin today. We hold a lot of tension in there, and so letting there be a little bit of freedom is a nice way to start class. And then bringing yourself to center, letting the body be still here for a breath or so. Let's go ahead and take an Utkatasana, about a half one, Ardha Utkatasana, bringing one arm up any amount. So whatever amount it goes up today. And if you can, take the other hand and place it on that arm. So your arm can be in whatever position. And if this bothers your balance or it limits your balance, then please put the other hand down to stabilize yourself. Otherwise, go ahead and take a hold of the upper part of your arm and rotate it in toward your face a little bit. We're actually externally rotating the shoulder, although it looks like internal rotation in this position. So I'm bringing it this away from one side toward the center, bringing it toward the midline a little bit. As you do that, stretch up through that hand and drop down through your sitting bones. Take a breath and then let it all down. It's a long time. We won't have the other one up quite as long now that you get what we're doing. And then just let that one, relax just a bit. Same thing, other side, grounding through our base. Let's go ahead and take the other arm up. Any amount, whatever amount you're comfortable with. And if you can, take the hand on the upper arm. And again, just rotate that upper arm a little bit toward the center. And as you do, grow as much as you possibly can. Whether you're using the hand on the arm or not, growing as much as you can, getting as big as you can. And then slowly release and come on back down. Hold that thought. I have to, I lost a little bit of the light on my screen. It's so bright in my room that I think my screen is trying to, there we go. It's trying to darken it a little bit. There we go, good. Okay, good. All right, let's go back to the first arm now. We're going to take the arm out to the side. So as again, as whatever you're comfortable with today, bringing that arm up and out to the side, any amount, however that looks. Take the opposite hand and either put it on the opposite knee or maybe at the hip crease. Find where you get the best grounding on the opposite side as you then stretch that arm up, reaching up toward the ceiling as much as you comfortably can. Grounding through the other side, lengthening the torso here. Finding your breath, breathing right into these lower outside ribs. And then let it out to the side, down if you comfortably can. Moving slowly, taking your time as we do this morning. And then of course, taking the other side too. So we're going to take it into an Uttkatasana, but going through the side this time, taking that other hand now and grounding. This morning I started out grounding at my knee, and then I found I liked it better if I grounded at my hip. So figure out what feels best for you today as we ground through one side and we lengthen or free up the other. So it's almost as if we're tethering ourselves down on one side and then letting the other side float up a little bit. Breathing here. Good. Take the arm out, back down. Nice. Come back to the center. Be in the center for a breath or so. Let's take the other side. So the first side again, we'll take that out to the side, up over our head. Good. Now we're going to take this one and we're going to take it into a twist behind us. So we've got it over our head. Now we're going to twist toward the side that's in the air and come down into a nice big twist. So find a place to anchor that back arm now. Hanging out in this twist here. Inhaling here, noticing that expansion of the belly and of course that dropping down of the pelvic diaphragm as you inhale. And then as you exhale, press through the sitting bones and get a little bit taller. Inhaling again. Exhaling, getting a little bit taller, opening wide across those shoulders. And then slowly returning back to the center. Letting the body continue to warm up as we can. And then we'll take the other side too. So we'll take the arm up over our head, any amount. And if bringing the arm over your head isn't working for you today, then don't worry about that. And then let's move into that twist. So we're going to take that arm behind us now, twisting to the other side. Finding your breath here, inhaling, allowing that belly to expand a little bit on the inhale. On your exhale, dropping down through the sitting bones and letting the spine lengthen. And of course, your breathing is compromised a little bit in a twist here, isn't it? So you're not going to be taking these big giant breaths, and that's okay. Just keep the breathing moving, knowing that anytime you twist a little bit harder to breathe. Keep it flowing as much as you can, almost a samavriti, or an equal flow, even in, even out. And then slowly come on back to the center. Just soften the eyes, be in the center for a couple of breaths here. All right, now we're going to do a couple different things with our legs, and you can go in whatever position is right for you. So the legs can be straight out in front of you with the knees bent, feet flat on the floor, or whatever is most comfortable for you. Otherwise, if you'd like to take the legs out, if you can, or if you'd like to take the legs out into a Dandasana, a straight-legged Dandasana, you can do that too. So it's kind of up to you, again, moving to your capacity. So I'm bringing my legs out straight. You can also have a bent leg Dandasana. So whatever variation of Dandasana you'd like to take today, go ahead and do that. And Dandasana is simply staff pose. So it's almost like a mountain pose, except it's seated. So we have a nice Tadasana, or mountain pose torso, and then our legs are in a relatively straight position out from our body too. So we call that Dandasana or staff pose. Let's go ahead and anchor our arms back with our elbows facing behind us. So I'm bringing my hands back by my hips just a little bit. Legs, again, are either bent at the knees or straight at the knees, whatever works for you today here. In this position now, let's go ahead and lift the chest just a little bit. So lift the chest a little bit, but keep those legs grounded. And then go ahead and let that chest drop. So I want you to feel the lift in the chest now, because we're going to go into a chair pose in a couple of minutes, or an Uttkatasana. And there's a really lovely little chest lift in this pose. So again, let's practice that chest lift with our arms grounded and our elbows facing the wall behind us. So just rooting the hands down. Slowly inhale, lift that chest a little bit. And then relax, let it go. Now, if you want to add one more element to this pose, and again, there are 100 variations we could do with this pose, so you'll decide which variations you're going to take today. Only if you're feeling very stable, we're going to take a very slight forward lean with that. And when I talk about a forward lean, I don't mean leaning all the way to your knees. I mean keeping from the sitting bones to your shoulders in a straight line. So this trunk it remains in Tadasana. It remains in the straight line with this nice little chest lift that we've been practicing, except now we're going to add the chest lift in a little bit of a forward lean. All right. For safety, I've taken myself out of my Dandasana position and I've bent my knees and put my knees flat on the floor. So if you've been in the long Dandasana, you might want to bring your knees back just for safety. As always, if coming forward compromises your balance at all, don't do it. Just come forward energetically. Please don't compromise your safety. All right, so feet to the floor, nice chest lift, hands down here. So we're getting some nice rootedness with our hands. Let's go ahead and inhale here. Then at the hips, let's do a very little bit of a hinge forward. And I mean, literally, you can go a centimeter. It don't go far here. I don't want you going, 30 or 40 degrees. Now in this position, notice where your hips are and press the hips diagonally back as you lift the chest, and feel that sensation of almost a little bit of lift off through the chest. Notice the tendency to want to lift the head, but keep the head in a level position. Is anyone breathing? Please start breathing here, because this gets to be a vigorous pose. So I want to make sure you keep breathing. Yeah, that means you, Pat. I see you smiling. And then ease yourself back. You have to know that the only time I tell you to breathe is because I notice that I'm not breathing. So, so I'm calling myself out, quite frankly, when I'm calling you out. Okay, so we're starting to put together the components of chair pose or Utkatasana, which I really kind of love. So again, knees are now bent. So if you were sitting in Dandasana with the legs out straight, I want everybody to make sure you bring the knees in and all of our feet or our thighs are thoroughly grounded wherever you happen to be here. So take a couple of breaths just to give ourselves a little break here. Now, as some of you know, I like to talk about the movement of the diaphragms, and so this is a good little time as we're taking this break, just to take a second and feel the breath. Okay, so go ahead and breathe, allowing the inhale to come in to into your belly, and then exhale, letting the belly just passively recoil to the spine. Exhalation is a passive action. Inhalation, not always so much. You know, our bodies are always inhaling and exhaling, but we can play with or manipulate the breath a little bit too, and we get different results when we do that. Now, as a reminder, as we inhale and that abdominal area expands toward the center of the room, that respiratory diaphragm is dropping toward the floor. And along with the respiratory diaphragm, the pelvic diaphragm is also dropping toward the floor when we inhale, and then both of them are passively springing up. So let's take another couple of breaths just to see if we can tune in to that innate rhythm in the body. So just inhaling, exhaling a few times on your own, just paying attention to that. Soften the mouth and the eyes as you're doing this. Sometimes when we concentrate, we start to harden the face a bit. Now I want you to use this pattern. So the awareness of this breathing pattern, I want you to use that for your benefit as we go into our Uttkatasana or chair pose. So again, just sitting here, putting your hands wherever they're most comfortable. So inhaling. Now, when you exhale, I want you to ground through your sitting bones and let your spine grow up a little bit. So we're moving in two directions at once on the exhalation. So take a few rounds like that. Your inhale and with your exhale, you ground and grow. Inhale, let yourself just kind of come back to the center. As you feel that expansion and the drawing down of the diaphragms. I'm asking you to pay attention to a whole bunch of stuff today. And the cool thing is that the breathing is going on whether you're paying attention or not. So if it gets to be too much, just let that part go. But it's really cool, I think, to notice the natural rhythms in our body and how we can use them for our benefit. So for a few more times, inhaling, letting that nice inhale come in. Exhaling and growing the spine, grounding with the sitting bones, growing up through the top of the head. We're going to use that for our pose here in a minute. So keep that rhythm. Now this time, as you exhale, and this is going to feel a little unusual. I'm kind of turning things on their head. As you exhale and grow your spine, you're going to bring one arm up. Now, usually we inhale and bring an arm up, don't we? This time you're going to grow on the exhale. So again, I'm asking you to think a little bit differently than we usually do, but you know, that's part of the fun of yoga is you can play with it. So we'll take an inhale here. And as we exhale and grow the spine, we're going to take one arm up and get longer on that exhale. And of course, you're probably going to inhale because I'm chatting away. and then bring it down. So do you notice as we do this, that there's almost a tendency to want to come forward a little bit. So as we grow the spine and we lift that arm, it almost feels like it's reaching us up toward the screen a little bit. I want you to notice that this time as we do the other side. So let's go ahead and inhale here. And exhale, get long spine, long arm over your head, almost that little bit of lean forward. Ground through the feet as you get that. And then let's drop it down and come on back. So let's get into a little bit of rhythm like that as we build this pose. We'll inhale. As we exhale, we're going to grow the spine, bring one arm up, and then we'll ease it back, and then we'll do the other side. So we'll keep going back and forth. Oh, my screen is giving me trouble again. There we go. Okay, so here we go. So we're going to take our inhalation, exhale, ground and grow. Inhale, come back. Exhale, ground and grow. And again, you don't have to follow the inhale, exhales that I'm doing. And then come on back on your inhale. Exhale, ground and grow. Maybe a little bit of a lean forward at the hips. Inhale, come back, fill it up. Exhale, ground and grow. Leaning forward just a little bit. And then coming back down, and give yourself a break. Give yourself a break. Not only the buildup to Uttkatasana is a little bit intense, but the pose itself is intense. It's a very vigorous pose. It's a standing pose. A standing pose, I'll show you, that basically looks like a chair. And so we're going to do that pose, except we're not going to get out of our chair, but it can be very, very vigorous, whether you take the standing or the seated position. You work as hard as you're comfortable working this morning, but know that this is a vigorous pose, and you might you're going to feel the body working. All right, so we started to feel the sensation of this chair pose, and now we're going to go ahead and build it. Again, I don't want you to come out of your chair, whether you can or not. I want you to stay in your chair, but we're going to be very much doing the pose while supported in the chair. So let's come back to our center position here. And remember, all of these things all of these layers that I'm giving you are just simply variations of the same pose. So don't feel free that you need to go to the last variation that I'm showing. You can stay at any variation that's comfortable for you today. So let's go ahead and just put our hands on our thighs here. Coming back to the center, feeling that sensation of midline here. It's a very, very symmetrical pose. Notice the sensation of your feet on the floor, the foot pedals here, the sensation of the support underneath the thighs. Let our arms come down to the side and just start to sway the arms. Just going to start to work up a little bit of momentum here. All right, so we're kind of charging the body. So a little bit of swaying here with the arms, whatever you're most comfortable with. And then either one or both arms, bringing them up in a pause and then back down. Swinging the arms. And then again, up in a pause. And I want you to feel that sensation of lift when you bring the arm up. So at your own pace, you don't have to use my pace, and you can go with one arm. If you want to swing both up, you can swing both up. It's completely up to you. But I want you to begin to feel that lift. But while you're feeling that lift, you need to ground down, because unless you've got that solid base down, you don't get that beautiful lift up. So playing around with this a little bit, one arm in a pause, and notice that it makes you want to inhale now as you bring the arm up. So if that feels good, then inhale when you bring the arm up. Find out where your body is at this morning. And what feels right for it as you work into this very vigorous pose. So one arm or maybe both arms, depending on what you're most comfortable with. One arm may want to be downed and grounding you also. And then let the arms slowly lose that sway and just come to a still point, more of a seated Tadasana here with a nice long spine and the arms down by the sides. Let the breath settle in the body, making sure you're still breathing. Maybe you want to tune back into that abdominal breath where you've got the two diaphragms releasing down or moving down with the inhale. And just springing gently back up with the exhale. All right, so we've taken all the pieces of this pose. Now let's put them together into the final pose, taking any variation of the pose that you choose. So finding some sort of grounding, whether it's your feet or your thighs, whatever works for you today. We'll start with a nice long spine, head placed on top of the shoulders here. Taking a couple of nice easy breaths here. Find that abdominal breath. Let's let our arms down where we had them before when we were swinging. Oh, here comes the cat. The cat often makes an appearance in my classes. Probably see the bit of his tail. All right, so into your Tadasana here. Grounding yourself, finding your breath. Now earlier, you'll remember that when we used our breath, we grounded with the exhale. So we're going to start with that. So we're going to inhale through the abdomen. Exhale, grow the spine, ground down through the sitting bones and the feet. Keep that spine long. Again, inhaling through the abdomen. Exhaling, ground down, make that very, very solid. Now this next time, let's take a little bit of that lean. So we'll inhale. As we exhale, we're grounding down, keeping the length of the torso and maybe that little bit, again, I'm coming forward about an inch. So you may not come forward at all, or you may come forward an inch or two, it's fine. Keep that position here. You should be starting to work those legs to keep the body in an upright position here. And now let's go ahead and inhale down. Exhale, let's go ahead and bring one arm up. Now press down through the legs, whether physically or energetically. Lift the chest, come forward a little bit, shoot all the way out through the fingertips here, and release and bring it back. Anybody feel the work and the heat that this creates? This is a very heat producing pose done vigorously. And I needed to produce a little heat today. Okay, we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. All right, so again, in whatever way it works for you, pressing down through those feet or thighs, lengthening, getting a long spine here. Continue grounding through the thighs, lift the chest as you ground down through the fingers, reaching those fingers down, lift the chest, come forward just a hair. And then as you're ready, take one arm up, reaching out now all the way from the sitting bone up through the shoulder, all the way out through that hand, as if you're going to lift off, as if you're going to lift off the chair, pressing down through the feet. Long, nice breath here, and then release and come on down. Good. Release it down, shake it out. All right, we'll take it 2 more times. I'm going to demonstrate with both hands, but you can do it with one arm one time and then the other arm the other time if you prefer. So either one or both arms up as we go into our final variation of the pose. All right, in Tadasana, we'll start. In Tadasana, hands pointing down. Find your breath. Are you holding your breath? Are you holding your jaw? What is tightened up? Work where you must and release where you can on this one. So finding your breath here. Exhaling and getting longer. Activate the legs, pressing down through the thighs or the feet. Lift that chest by pointing those fingers down toward the floor even more vigorously. If you'd like to lean forward just a hair, and now keeping yourself very safe and very grounded, inhaling, bringing the arms over the head, one or both arms getting as long as you possibly can here. Finding your breath here. You can also do this with both arms grounded in the hands behind you and release. And come on back down. Take a little break. We'll do one more time in case you're doing one hand then the other, so both get equal love. Give ourselves a little bit of a break. And one last time, grounding down, you know the whole score now, lifting that chest, bringing the hands down so you get that nice upward lift of the chest. Little bit of a lean forward, and then arms up as you press down as if you were going to come right out of the chair. As if you're going to come right up and stand out of the chair. Every bit of you is involved in this very vigorous pose. I'm guessing you're all holding your breath because I am. And then slowly relax and lower back down. And be glad that we're done with that pose. All right, shake it out a little bit, whatever you need to do. You know, it's a lovely pose and a very vigorous pose, but it's also very linear, isn't it? I mean, we're moving right up through the midline, and it's a beautiful pose for building strength and awareness through the midline, but then we got to come out of the midline. So just let your body move a little bit and let it, I kind of like to come out to the side, do a little bit of side sway. After that, maybe a little bit of shoulder roll. Good, and we've got this long, nice lifted chest right now. So let's just take a very gentle back bend, not much because we're kind of going to be winding down. Let's just bring our hands down to the sides of the chair. Holding on and grounding at the sides of the chair. Let's do one last little chest lift, not even a back bend over the back of the chair. I don't want to do any of that at this point of the class. Just allowing for a little bit of length. Nice breath. Breath should be coming naturally now. Little chest lift with the breath. And then release, bring both hands forward. Let's take one hand and bring it either on your knee or to the inside of your knee, whichever works for you. We'll take a twist to the opposite side. So I've taken one hand, brought it in to the inside of the knee. I'm going to take the other hand, bring it around and anchor it around behind me. So you're in a twist right now. You don't need to go any further. So let's just take a breath or two here. Notice where you feel your breath. Again, in a twist, a little bit harder to have a deep breath. So don't worry about increasing the depth of the breath here. If you'd like to go a little deeper into the twist, you're welcome to inhale here, lengthening the spine, and then exhale, keeping that spine long as you twist a little more. Otherwise, stay right where you are. And then your next exhalation brings you back around to the front. Let's pause in the front here. And then we'll go the other way. So hand on the knee or on the inside of the knee, whatever feels good. And one of the reasons I like to put it on the inside of the knee is because it makes this shoulder open a little bit more. I have a tendency to close that shoulder and roll it forward. So as long as you keep that shoulder open, it doesn't really matter where you put the hand. But it's a reminder for me to keep that shoulder, keep that front of the chest area open a little bit. All right, we'll take the other hand and bring it around to the side, of course. Nice, tall here, breath. And again, you are in a twist right now, so you don't need to go any further. This can be your twist for right now. Listen to your body. Appreciate where it's at today. If you'd like to twist a little bit more, go ahead and inhale now. Make sure you keep that spine long as you exhale and twist a little bit more or not at all. Back, shoulder stays with the back. It wants to creep forward, doesn't it? And then slowly release and come on back to the center. Be in the center. Let's take a few minutes of alternate nostril breathing. So we'll do a little tiny bit of alternate nostril breathing today. Go ahead and get into a position where you feel really supported. I'm going to put something on the back of my chair and lean all the way back in my chair. So you find what feels best to you. It might be leaning back in the chair, maybe it's on the floor, or the couch, or whatever feels right. And if alternate nostril breathing isn't your thing, then don't do it. Otherwise, well, I'm going to instruct a simple version without using our hands, one that I really like to practice on my own, and I want to share that with you. So get into a position where you're comfortable, and you should feel really supported now. I don't want you to feel like you're holding yourself up. Soften the eyes here. Draw attention to your right nostril. You can tap it if you want to remind yourself which is your right, or just leave the hands in a comfortable position. And just for the next couple of breaths, I just want you to pay attention to the air that comes in through the right nostril and the air that goes out of the right nostril. Same thing, in and out. Of course, there's air entering both nostrils, but I just want you to pay attention to the right one at this particular moment. Now go to the left side. Draw your attention to the right nostril. Just pay attention to the air entering and exiting the left nostril for a few breaths. And let that go. Just regular breath for a couple rounds. And now we'll alternate. So I'll go through it for a few times and then I'll let you go on your own. And it's simply paying attention to the breath that's entering one nostril versus the other. So let's pay attention to the air entering the right and exiting the left. Entering the left, exiting the right. Entering the right, exiting the left. Entering the left, exiting the right. In through the right, out through the left. In through the left, out through the right. Now for the next minute or so, continue that same pattern on your own, or simply resume your regular rate of breathing. And now let any manipulation of the breath go. Let the breath come naturally now. And let's move right into Shavasana. So if you have a preferred position for our final relaxation pose, I'm going to put a bolster on my lap. If you like to lean forward or support yourself with pillows or whatever you like to do, make sure that you're fully supported in whatever position that you're taking. I like to lean back in my chair a little bit, let my head nod forward just a touch. You find the position that works best for you. And so keeping this sense of quiet, this sense of softness, while acknowledging the work we did today. We had a vigorous class, but now let the body land. Let the body feel this sweetness of that. And then just let that go. Moving into this quiet state of awareness, but rest. Let the breath settle in the body in whatever way it's most comfortable. Re-soften the skin of the forehead, the eyes, the inner ears. Soften the jaw and the inside of the mouth. Let the shoulders release away from the ears. The long bones of the arms be heavy. The wrists and the palms and the fingers to soften. Allow the breath to move naturally throughout the body. Allowing the pelvis, the space of the pelvis to soften. The hips and knees, and the ankles and feet to soften. To feel a sense of relief. Slowly now begin the process of coming out of Shavasana. Slightly deeper inhalation, followed by a slightly longer exhalation. Blink the eyes a couple of times as you begin letting the light back in. Slowly bringing yourself back into the space. And then if you wish, if you can, bring the hands together in the center, finding that midline again. Ending our practice as always with gratitude for this opportunity to come and practice together. Namaste. Thank you for sharing in this practice.